morning, guys. Volatile Positive here. Out on a casual morning ride today. Today being a Saturday. And it's something I've not been doing a lot lately. Because, you know, I've just been too tired at work and everything. So even the weekends, you know, getting up early and going out doesn't quite happen. Topic I want to discuss today is about my bikes, you know, just general news and updates about what I've been doing in regards to my bikes. And in case you're wondering, what happened to the Interceptor? So I recently did a couple of videos on that where I talked about the things I like and the things I don't like about the Interceptor, and those videos did quite well actually. I guess the Interceptor is still a popular biking topic here in India. So soon after I made those videos, I actually sold the Interceptor. And if you saw one of my relatively recent videos, I actually talked about possibly selling the Interceptor there, and yeah, I did that. So currently I have this Versys 1000, of course. I have the Vespa, the VXL 150, and I have the KTM Duke also, the 390 Duke. So as you may well be suspecting, yeah, my garage was a little too full and I had to downscale a little for various reasons. I mean, it's not just the space. Yeah, the space does get a little inconvenient, but it's also, you know, maintaining them, because I don't like them just sitting idle and gathering dust. As you probably figured out from that maneuver there, I'm still far from being comfortable off-roading, especially on this bike. It is heavy. That's the thing with adventure bikes, you know, they're not really very conducive to your confidence when you off-road. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of experience to be comfortable on them. That's a general consensus. It's not just something I'm saying. On a smaller bike, you know, dual sport, or even a small adventure bike, something like a 400 or 500, it gets a little easier because you have less weight to manage. Of course, I'm not saying this is an adventure bike. It isn't, but the dimensions are kind of like one of the big adventure bikes. Why did I sell the Interceptor, not the other bikes, in case you're wondering? Well, there's a fair bit of history behind that, and if you have been watching my older videos, you can probably figure it out. Basically, to summarize, back then I had bought it as a potential all-rounder. Of course, and back then I could only afford one bike, and even now it's not like I can easily afford the whole collection of bikes. So the intention usually is to have one bike that can do everything that I needed to do, and I kind of expected that the Interceptor would be that, you know, with some modifications, which I did as well. I put on some luggage, a hard top box, and soft pannier or saddlebag carrying options, a touring seat, and, you know, such modifications. And we even did a pretty long tour on it of nearly a month, of you know, Karnataka, Goa, and so on, but didn't really you know, it could do it, but it wasn't really ideal. And because of that, I mean, I'm talking about the touring aspect there, but because of all those modifications, it also wasn't so good as a city bike, or as just, you know, a casual ride bike like the one I'm doing now. No. So that was the first one to go as I'm downsizing my garage. And so what else? Of course, I'm keeping the Versys, because this is kind of like my dream bike, to be honest. And it can pretty much do everything pretty well. Of course, it's not a proper city bike, it's a little too big for that, but I don't have any trouble. You know, I can do it pretty comfortably. I do use it most days when I commute, and it can do it just fine. Staying, of course. The Vespa is also probably staying, because that's also a very lovely little ride when you just have to go run some errands, you know, or just go pretty much anywhere in the city. It's very easy, hassle-free, no shifting, lightweight, you know, maneuvering is easy, you can easily filter through traffic. That's also ideal for, almost ideal for the city. Yeah, the performance is a little on the lower side, but it's still mostly adequate. The Duke, I like it, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep it or possibly sell it. I really do like it, especially the older 2015 one, because of its raw and kind of unfiltered nature. So I may keep it, but then again, I'm not riding it as much. So again, it's a matter of that lying idle and gathering dust, that concern I had. So that would still apply to the Duke, and that kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. I can of course ride it occasionally, but apart from the commuting, which is not very long for me nowadays, it's only around 7 kilometers each way. So apart from commuting, I'm not doing a lot of riding, like I said right at the beginning of this video, right? So one more bike, probably just gonna make it all that more difficult to ride all of them as a whole. All of them will probably get ridden less. So yeah, the Vespa is staying, the Versys is definitely staying. The Duke, I'm not sure. So 3 bikes, possibly 2. With that being said, I'm also kind of itching for another bike. I know, that's crazy, right? So maybe if I give you an idea of the kind of bike I'm looking for, that'll make it a little easier for you to understand why I'm considering that. So for some time now, I was kind of fancying a Royal Enfield Bullet, and the old one, the old cast iron engine. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the older Bullets, but if you are familiar with my biking history, you would know that I actually had one. I had an Electra, which is not quite the same as the pure traditional cast iron Bullets, but it had the same cast iron engine, just that it did not have the contact breaker points ignition. It had electronic ignition, but other than that, it was the same engine. And yeah, it had a 5-speed gearbox, a left side shift, conventional one, but similar gearbox, not the unit construction, not the UCE, not the AVL, as some people tend to think that the Electras were AVL engined ones. No, they were not. The Machismos were AVL engined. The Electras had the same cast iron engine, but with the electronic ignition. And you had the option of having a 4-speed right side shift, or a 5-speed left side shift gearbox. The same engine, the 2 gearbox options. And I really liked it, and there were a couple of problems with it. One was I had a 2008 model, and around that time the build quality levels of Royal Enfields were really bad. You would have to put in quite a bit of effort in just maintaining them. I mean, I'm not talking about the engine. The engine was fine. Luckily, I did not have any problems with the engine. But other parts, you know, things would start rusting, and screws would start getting loose, and so on. And right now, I don't consider them to be big problems because I have the skills and the equipment to do those things on my own, take care of those things. Back then I did not. When I sold it back in 2012. And also, back then I could only afford one bike, and that was not quite an all-rounder. It was okay as a city bike, okay for possibly some occasional short distance highway rides, because you could only do around 80 or 90 kilometers per hour on that. It could do higher, but that would be like, you know, torturing the engine. So yeah, so I could only afford one bike then, and so I sold that and got the Harley Sportster. So now, but you know, I really like that that feel of that cast iron engine, that low revving nature of it, the high torque that it delivered, right from low revs. Really like that, and also the ergonomics of the bike were really good. So that's the reason I'm kind of considering an old cast iron Bullet. But as I was doing that research, you know, of course there are challenges to owning an old one. They are not that difficult to maintain, and if you have the basic knowledge of it, of how that engine works, and you have the tools to do it and some experience, you can mostly take care of it on your own, unless it needs major you know, work, like rebuilding the cylinder or the head. Yeah, that kind of work you may not be able to do on your own, but basic maintenance, oil changes, you know, checkups, tightening the screws and bolts, you can do those things on your own. And even additional things that these old cast irons need from time to time, like carburetor tuning, ignition timing tuning. That's where you adjust the points to adjust the ignition timing, and also tappet settings for valve clearance. Those things are fairly easy to do on your own once you have the basic know-how. But yeah, of course I'm not going to be able to buy a new one. It's going to be a fairly old used one, and I'm not very keen on buying a newer one, you know. So I'm looking for something from ideally the 70s or maybe even the 80s, but not newer than that. And I'm not going to go into the reasons of why exactly I prefer the older ones over the newer ones. Even though cast irons were available all the way up till 2010 or so. But yeah, so if you're buying something with that much history, it's very hard to know how what the actual condition of the engine is, you know, inside. I mean, are the cylinders sealing properly against the cylinder? I mean, are the pistons sealing properly against the cylinder? How the valves are, how the crank bearings are. It doesn't have bearings, I think it does have a float, something of some sort, the crank. So yeah, these things you can't really tell until you open up the engine. So there's always some risk there. But yeah, even if it comes to the worst case, you just have to take it to a good technician and spend some time and money on rebuilding the engine. So that's that. So for that reason, I was also kind of looking at the current modern range of Royal Enfield Bullets, or also the classics, which are also basically bullets with just some styling variations. And the new, the current 350, the one with the J series engine, that also seems like a pretty good offering. The J series, it's a pretty good option. Some say it's not as good as the UCE engines. It is more refined. Yeah, it possibly has less character than the UCE. But then again, you know, the UCE, if you put on a good exhaust that makes it sound like one of the old cast iron bullets, that's all good, but you can't legally do that anymore, right? So then if you compare a stock configuration UCE and a stock configuration J series, I think J series doesn't sound so bad. And of course, if you do get a new one, you have far less worries in terms of maintenance. Of course, if you know me, I'm not very fond of Royal Enfield's service. Like in case of my Interceptor, I did everything on my own. You do lose out the warranty there, of course, so that's a trade-off. So that's what I'm thinking. Of course, not very aggressively, because I think it's kind of more fun to be shopping around than actually owning the thing after buying whatever you decide to buy, isn't it? So yeah, I'm still shopping around, kind of passively, because if I get too active, I may just end up buying it. But of course, if I do buy one, the Duke would have to go first, because otherwise I would have the same challenges with parking space again. We're gonna do a brief stop at our usual haunt, in Superlow Lake, and then let's see if I want to continue further or turn back. I think I need fuel, so may just head up to the Shell station after Kolar. But as for the video, I think that's all I had to talk about. So I may actually end it here. So nice talking to you guys about... Look at this garbage here. Find another spot. Wherever there's a clearing, there's garbage dumped. See? Anyway, I'm gonna stop here. So yeah, nice talking to you guys about all these thoughts that I've been having. And of course, I'm not gonna do anything right now about buying or selling. It'll take a while. Take some time to clearly think about it. But yeah, those are the possibilities. Alright then, catch you on the next one. Bye bye.